Hey there, welcome to White Crow Roping, episode 20. This is kind of how it's been going. I'm recording this episode and I haven't even had time to edit and publish episode 19, but I'll get them all out here shortly. I've been up this morning since 2 o'clock. Got up at 2 and pulled out about 2:30. Old Beaver and Chief on the back there. And I'm going to outside of Wichita Falls, Texas, to a clinic with James Martinez. Pretty excited. It's going to start in about 3 hours or so. I'm about an hour away, more or less, maybe a little more. But it's been a pretty busy, wild and busy week or two. I went to, yesterday it's been pretty typical. I went to the training center in Hot Springs, shoot some race horses, and had to drive all the way up, about 80 miles up to Greenbrier and shoot some more. Came home and starting to get ready to leave this morning, and had to fix a leak on the hot water heater, so I had to go back to town. And anyway, I'm not going to make excuses for not having put a video out in 2 to 3 weeks, even though I intend to do it once a week. But I feel like I've been doing so much that it's like, without making time, it just doesn't seem like there's just not enough time to do it all. And I thought about calling this episode Music and Roping, because I've been thinking a lot about that lately, in that. But for one, I'm more or less realized that I need to talk. If I need to talk at all, I need to talk more about mental tricks and brain exercises, or things that I've tried out that may or may not work. That might be the value I can add here. So to that point, one of the things I've been doing recently is trying to it turned out to be over an hour a day playing music. And the reason I think that's going to help my roping is that, say, I've played both fiddle, violin, guitar for years now, and in some ways in some aspects of it I'd say I'm pretty good, or I have a lot of fun with it. But in other aspects of it, I've always struggled, and well, I used to struggle a lot more, and now I can feel some changes taking place in my brain where I can feel it's getting easier. And I say it's getting easier like it's hard. It's really not. It's nothing very hard. It's just something that since I was a kid, I never worked out in my brain, which is the hard part for me. Was always the syncopation and counting and reading music, coming in on the downbeat or the upbeat before the measure, and that, like, I kind of hacked and faked my way through 5 books of the Suzuki violin method, when I started out when I was, 9 or 10, and so I could play, and that's how I got into playing fiddle. But like I would practice for a while, and like I could kind of approximate what I was supposed to play, but if someone just was to count it out slowly, then it was like it was too much of a strain on my brain too much of a strain to just nail it solid, slow, and get the counts. And for some reason that it was like I hit a wall, and I don't know if they'd call it ADD or ADHD or whatever learning disability it might be, but I think it might be laziness to some extent. But also I think the way my brain was wired, it didn't flow easy for me, and so how that relates to roping is that, especially playing guitar and singing, which, you know, I figured out, a friend of mine taught me some chords when I was about 15, and I started going from there, and always loved it and had fun. But I could play simple songs, and, you know, they'd be, you know, it'd sound, to me, I would enjoy it, but then I would hear another simple song that sounded the same to me, or didn't sound any harder, but I never could figure out what it was about it that made it so hard to play. And looking back now, I realize, you know, if a real simple song where you start on the downbeat every line, every verse, or you can get close to it, then, you know, that doesn't take any thinking. But then if you get into you know, a good singer is going to be a lot more varied in where they start their phrasing, and like, for example, when I was in my late teens, and there was a song, I think it was a Neil Young song that real simple song called Sugar Mountain. And I know that's weird, you know, that's out there. You know, some people may not be a fan, but I'm a huge fan of Neil Young, and so I learned this song, and I was playing with one of our family friends who also knew the song. We were playing music, and so I tried to play it and sing it, and she was like, "That's not how it goes." I said, "Yeah, it is." She's like, "No, it's not. It's." And I didn't really understand, but what it was, I wasn't getting the rhythm of the song right, and I wasn't, you know, counting out the phrases, and I was singing my own screwed up easy version that didn't really have any connection to the actual. So, in forcing myself to learn to count out and have my hand on autopilot while I'm playing rhythm guitar or whatever I'm playing, it's like a glorified rubbing your stomach and patting your head at the same time, or walking and chewing gum. And it's like swinging your rope in a relaxed manner, the way you practice on the ground while riding at full speed, you know, riding your horse, not just sitting there and bouncing around and getting to the steer, but moving him over on a fast steer that's going right, and move him over and move him back over, and just your rope steady, just swinging like just on autopilot, where when you get there, you're going to crack him. I've done that and felt that a few times, to the extent that, you know, as good as I am, that's, you know, I've gotten that feeling a few times, and for better or worse, you know, I don't know how smooth my swing has ever been until recently. It's getting way better, and it's going to continue to get better. But I guess for what I'm saying, it's as good as I've ever done it. I felt that, where it's kind of getting a flow, where moving my horse, picking him up, setting him up there in his hole, and where I need to throw, and my hand swinging my rope just independently. And I don't know why that's been so hard, but I think it's similar to why it's hard for me. Like I could hear an old Alan Jackson song and think, man, it sounds so simple, and I know all the chords, and I can play the chords right off just out by ear. But then all of a sudden, you go and try and sing it, and if you count it out, well, so he might start one verse on the 3.5 beat on whatever on the 4 chord, but you don't really. I never heard that. I always just heard the words and never paid close enough attention to why it sounds so good, and so I guess the point of all this is that I think challenging my brain and playing music and making my hands work on their own motor, just on autopilot, and my thinking about the counting and the phrases on singing, not to mention keeping a relaxed larynx and learning how to do that as well. But I think that challenging my brain that way is going to carry over, and even in the last week or so, I think it's going to help my coordination with riding my horse and roping like I do on the ground. And it's, I guess, any changes in your brain, sometimes you can feel something fast, but then it might take a while to kind of rewire the circuit so that all the way I understand the neurons fire the same way, like as in a habit. If they're used to firing that way, they kind of cut a groove in your gray matter over time, and so they get used to firing that way, and so if you break out of it, then you might experience something, might feels awesome, but it's easier for you. It doesn't take any effort for your neurons to go back to firing the old way. Just like you learn, like when I went to my last clinic, got a new feelings with my rope, and realized what it felt like to get my tip down to the right and just release it over the left horn. There's a whole nother feeling. But then over the next week or two, then it's been a struggle, and it's getting better. But to just cement that to where it becomes automatic instead of what I had been doing before, which, for better, well, what had become automatic was not correct. So that's what I'm fighting right now, and I'm hoping to use the music as a. I love playing, and I love learning songs, and I love working at getting better at it, and so I've kind of thrown that in as a way to maybe open up new pathways in my brain, and the theory and hope that that'll make my roping progress easier and faster. And so we'll see how it goes. And maybe, I guess, the point of all that 5 minutes of rambling, I apologize for this disjointed video. I've been up for a while and then got about 3 hours of sleep last night, but trying to rope my sled and go to a friend's house 20-minute drive away and rope every day, and shoe racehorses full time, and I've been spending a little over an hour a day playing guitar and singing. And I've got parts. I'm working on building a welding table, getting my home shop or my shop set up where I can start building more spurs. I've got a lot of irons in the fire. And I will get myself back in gear and start making more videos, and I will get better at making them, and I'll get better at speaking on this camera. But for the time being, now you know what's taken me so long and why I'm so busy. So if you've been watching this long, and I sure hope you got something out of it. And I said last time it'd be another video in a week, and now it's been 3 weeks, and this is my second one I've recorded and haven't even got it up on YouTube. So you may not believe me, but I'll do my very best to get these out. And next week, maybe a recap of this clinic I'm going to today, and tell you all the progress and all the money I made. And then maybe I'll take about 6 or 8 hours and write a script for myself to learn, so I'll know how to end the video when I run out of things to say, and don't sit here babbling incoherently. So thanks for watching.